In today's Leeds news, Kristensen negotiations underway, pre-season plans in place, Leeds the best in Europe, and transfer decisions could help summer moves. Hi folks, Jay here at The View for your Leeds United news for Thursday morning, the 13th of February. Hope you're having a good week so far. There's not a massive amount of stuff to get into. Results last night didn't necessarily go our way, but I suppose if you look at the opposition they were up against, they would have all expected to win. So two massive games coming up in the next week or so for Leeds against Sunderland and Sheffield United. Personally, don't lose them and you've got a chance to win this whole thing. But we'll have to see what happens. We did do a preview of the next 6 games leading up to the international break last night with Ben Locke from Lockie Leeds, as well as Andrea Russo. You can check that out, a link at the end of the video as well. But let's crack on, get stuck into today's news. And the main story floating around today is the negotiations around the exit of Rasmus Kristensen that have now been confirmed by Bild in Germany and The Athletic. So a little bit more credibility here than normal. The long-awaited permanent exit of Rasmus Kristensen has taken one more step forward. However, there is still significant ground to cover on this situation in the regards of a transfer fee agreement. Bundesliga side Eintracht Frankfurt have a €15 million, so about £12 million option to buy on Rasmus Kristensen this season, but are not keen to pay that, despite the fact that the player himself is keen to sort his future out before the summer arrives and Leeds get promoted. Kristensen has played 27 times for Frankfurt so far this season and has been described by their sporting director as a dressing room leader. The issue is price on this one, and Frankfurt do not want to pay the option fee that they negotiated themselves in order to bring Kristensen to the club and get the loan across the line in the summer. The sporting director going even a step further to describe the fee as a horrendous fee a couple of weeks ago, now that he has the Marmouche money sloshing around in his pockets. Frankfurt sporting director Markus Krosch has described Kristensen as an absolute leader and an indispensable part of the dressing room. All of that means that Rasmus Kristensen's stock is probably the highest it's ever been, considering the Bundesliga is a top 5 league and he is a locker room leader and an indispensable part of their side. So after all of that, Frankfurt apparently value Kristensen at €6 million, which is about £4 million, which is not what any club would pay for a defender in the Bundesliga who is an indispensable leader. Bild say, though, that negotiations between the two clubs are now ongoing and that Eintracht Frankfurt are keen to make the move permanent. In fact, that's also being backed up by The Athletic today. If Leeds go up, Rasmus Kristensen's loan clause is invalid and the player will have to return to Leeds United with no get-out-of-jail-free card this summer. So that means if cards are pretty much stacked in Leeds' favour here, Kristensen's form this year in the Bundesliga means that other Bundesliga clubs may be having a look at the player as well. Going off of his form and the descriptions from his very own sporting director, Leeds could probably sit on this one and try and get a better deal if other clubs were interested. What is clear from this situation is that Leeds want to sell, Kristensen wants to leave and not come back to Leeds, and Eintracht Frankfurt don't want to pay the fee that they agreed in the first place. For me, if I was Leeds, I'd play hardball here, but it looks like Leeds will likely just try and get Kristensen off their books with only a couple of years left on his contract. So that's the big one this morning. Rasmus Kristensen another step closer to leaving and heading out the door permanently. We'll have to see what Leeds can manage to wrangle out of Eintracht Frankfurt's very heavy financial pockets right now. Moving on to pre-season plans, and Leeds United have informed the Supporters Advisory Board that this year's pre-season will once again take place in Europe. The first round of fixtures will be announced in due course. It's expected to be relatively soon, and this is to avoid a situation where we saw last summer where Leeds couldn't have fans at the facility due to restrictions there and had to play their games behind closed doors. This time around, Angus Kinnear has told the Supporters Advisory Board that fans will be allowed to attend. According to the notes from the Supporters Advisory Board, Leeds fans will be allowed to attend the upcoming fixtures in Europe this season. It's likely to be a trip back to Germany. I would be surprised if Daniel Farke doesn't go back for some part of pre-season to the same facility as last year in the hotel there, because he's used that before with Norwich as well. He likes it there. We'll have to see, but it means that Leeds fans will finally be able to go travelling on the road again across Europe to watch Leeds in pre-season action. Moving on to some statistics and data that came out yesterday. Leeds top of the pile in Europe, and in some new data shared by Player Maker Stats, Leeds stand out as the best of the best in Europe. Leeds United's goal difference is currently the standout goal difference across European leagues, and Leeds sit top of some very, very hefty names below them. Leeds' current goal difference of plus 47 is the number one across all of European leagues, with Bayern Munich in second, 1 goal worse off, and Barcelona in third. Obviously, the squad and the league standard should be taken into some context, similar to the stats yesterday about Daniel Farke's side versus Don Reevy's sides. They weren't versus Don Reevy's sides, they're just comparisons for records that existed beforehand. But obviously, these are top sides and top leagues, so it's kind of, I suppose, there's some level playing field there when you put it that way. Moving on, let's talk about the final story of today. I told you it was a quiet one on the ground, didn't I? And this one relates to Leeds' summer plans, as well as what they've done last summer and in January that all could come together this coming summer. There is a piece in Leeds Live today written by Amy Wilson. It's a really good piece, and it looks at Leeds' summer income and lack of moves in January and what that could mean for Leeds coming into a summer with hopefully a Premier League window to look at. Should Leeds get promoted, and based on the evidence of the sides that went up last year, Leeds would need to have some significant investment in players, or I suppose heavy investment in a few players in a few key positions in order to put Leeds in the position to compete in the Premier League. But according to Football Observatory's latest post, Leeds' summer sales last summer brought in €161 million, so that's about £134 million. And Leeds spent €29 million, that's about £24 million, leaving a net profit of £110 million. Add to that the fact that Leeds didn't spend this January at all now means that that figure remains intact heading into the summer. If Leeds were to get promoted this year, they would have an immediate increase in TV revenue of about £110 million. But players' wages will also increase, and players will have promotion bonuses in their deals. And I'd be surprised if any of the players that signed up this season don't have wage increase clauses in their deals as well for Premier League football. And those who are still at the squad that were relegated with Leeds will have a 60% increase in their wages back to what they were on when Leeds were a Premier League club. So there's lots of ins and outs and factors to be taken into consideration. The other consideration to be taken into effect here is the PSR and FFP situation. Leeds are currently in their 3-year block, working through this, and they will be allowed losses of £105 million over a 3-year period in the Premier League. However, Leeds have not been in the Premier League for 2 years of that block, so therefore there will be a levelling out of that amount of money, and Leeds will likely look at going from being allowed to lose 105 in the Premier League to down to probably between 80 to 85 million pounds of losses over a 3-year period. So all of that has to be taken into consideration. But what it does mean is that the gamble on spending this year could lead to Leeds having a much larger pot of money this summer for significant Premier League level investments, and it may end up looking like a calculated risk should Leeds get there. However, if Leeds don't get there, it would be a massive risk that didn't pay off and ultimately lead to a fire sale in the summer. So it's either going to be brilliant or it's going to be a disaster. But it is a very big gamble. Everyone's described January as a gamble. The summer, probably a gamble as well. Those who criticise the recruitment team, I don't think you can criticise Outanaka, Manor Solomon, Largi Ramazani, all the players, Joe Rothwell, who came in during the summer, all been excellent for Leeds so far and bought for substantially less money than a lot of other teams have paid in the league this year, which may mean that Leeds have a few more quid to throw around come the summer should they get to the promised land, which hopefully is not that far away. You can check out, as I say, our preview for the next 6 games with Ben and Andrea last night. I'll be back in the morning for more Leeds news, and we will have a preview with stats on Friday night to look ahead to Monday night's game against Sunderland. Folks, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for Leeds news. Talk to you then. See ya. Bye.